After all of that is done, make sure that whoever is following up with your email sequences and talking to your customers on the phone understands how to sell. If you suck at sales, email will not help you sell any better. That is something I promise you.
Welcome back to the Prospecting Show, where each week we talk about tips, tricks, and methods for growing an amazing small business pipeline. I'm your host, Dr. Connor Robertson, and on this podcast, you can expect segments on communication, sales, prospecting, and closing. Thank you to everyone who has supported my 100 episodes and the 100 days goal going into 2020. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Prospecting Show. Today is episode 11, starting to break that 10 count here on my way to 100 episodes over the next 100 days. This particular episode is titled Selling with Email. And I thought I'd do a short segment on this, probably 10-15 minutes here. And the reason I thought that this would be a really good episode is a large portion of what we do as a service in our prospecting as a service arm in our Syntax Digital company, which is part of our kind of conglomerate services, is a business-to-business prospecting system. And that system consists of a few different things. There's outreach on LinkedIn, there's text messaging, there's email marketing, there's ringless voicemail and phone calls, there's data scraping, CRM integration, a bunch of different pieces that end up happening. But the part that everybody seems to think is like the go-to is the email. So if we kind of retract for a second here and talk about just standard one-off cold email, if you buy a list or you just find a list somewhere, or you have a CRM and you want to basically send a bunch of cold emails out, well, here are the stats. 8 to 10% of those people are going to open, less than 1% are going to actually reply. That is not going to move the needle for anybody. So what you have to do is figure out, how do you get the 8 to 10% higher than that? We're averaging 40 to 60% email open rate with a 10 to 20% click-through rate and a 1% to 2% conversion rate from all of our emails. And I'm going to talk about how we do that. But before we do that, I want to talk about why the original cold email is not really working that well. So in the .com kind of bubble there, when everybody started getting on the internet and started working towards using different systems, it was kind of the turn of the century and everybody was getting excited. Now over time, the email or electronic mail has really turned into a marketing platform, and because of that, you're seeing a lot of people subscribe to emails, sequences, email lists, and they have this bloat, this massive amount of bloat that's in their inbox, which is why when you send them an email and try and sell them your service, you're getting 8 to 10% open rate. There is just too much noise for these people. So the way that you combat that is you have to do a few different things at the same time, and you have to have preparation and sequencing and automation and good follow-up and good content. And now that was a bunch of different things that we just talked about all in one go there, but I'm going to kind of break these down for you. So let's talk subject lines first. The subject line is single-handedly one of the most important things that you need to do when you're writing an email. That subject line needs to be absolutely killer. If you're doing a 3 to 5 email sequence, a follow-up, a cold email drip, maybe it's a monthly newsletter, does not matter what the situation is, the subject line needs to be killer. What we do is when we connect with somebody on LinkedIn, the very first email we send them as a follow-up is thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. Now we're brand tying together the email that we just sent and the previous LinkedIn message that we just sent. That is so key, because at the end of the day, that first email is where you're going to build that brand trust. And if they open that first email, they're going to be a lot more likely to open the second, third, and fourth email that you send them, provided that you're providing value and you're giving them something that's useful and you're in the right market and all that. But if you link that, hey, I just talked to this guy on LinkedIn and I just got an email from, that's pretty cool, let's chat. We also set that on a 1-day delay. There are some people who have emails that go out just like that, boom, right after LinkedIn is connected to those individuals. The problem with that is people realize that's kind of automated and they feel like they're being trapped or that they're being sold to. So we delay that more than a day so that there's really no temporal association at that time. We don't want people thinking we're automating that process, but it's really key in that first email to say, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn, so that somebody knows where they met you, especially if they don't recognize your name right off, at the beginning there. So subject lines. The subject line should always tie to whatever you previously were talking to. If it's a straight cold email, what you should be doing is you should be coming up with subject lines that are kind of clickbait-ish, but at the same time, not super off-key, because if you do enough of that, you're going to kind of get burnout with your list, and your list is going to be worse and worse and worse over time. So you could write things like opportunity, job opportunity, partnership opportunity, thanks for connecting here, wanted to see what you thought about this, thanks for connecting on this other social platform. All these different options, you can throw them out there. Even if the email is not directly about that, you're going to get a good open rate. And then if your body of your email is good and tells a story from top to bottom, you're going to have a great translation of that individual from the intro to the outro of that email. And most emails should kind of be the same thing. You should have an introduction. You should create value up front. You should create a call to action, and then you should allow them to unsubscribe. Now, the unsubscription is kind of a compliance thing. You really don't have an option there. You should be getting rid of people who don't want to listen to you. And let's be real, they don't want to listen to your shit. They can get out of your list, right? That's it. Simple as that. Click this button. If you don't love what I'm telling you in this email, click this button and get the hell off my email list, because there's really no sense in you sticking around. Let's be real. So that's why we do those 4 sequences. Just to recap, it's intro, value, call to action, and unsubscribe. In that order, your email should start with that up top. Give them an intro, tell them why you're emailing them, create some value, create some pain, and then solve their solution. And give them one call to action. That one call to action is, hey, give me a call at this number. Book on my calendar at this link. Follow up with me. Hit reply. Whatever it is. Give them one call to action, but keep in mind, the more steps you make them go through, the less likely they are to do it. So if you tell them, hey, book on my Calendly link, and then they click that, and then you got to choose the day, and then they got to choose the time, and then they got to put in their name, and then their phone number, then their email. You've now created 6 or 7 steps throughout the whole process, which means that they are going to be less likely to do it. So don't give them 1,000 things to do in the call to action, and make sure that your call to action, even if it's only one thing like, hey, use my calendar, make it one step for them, make it super simple. Let's go on to the next thing here. Timing. Timing is very, very important, especially if you're in the United States, you're working in 4 time zones. That would be Eastern Standard, that would be Central Standard, Mountain, and Pacific. If you're going to be working in all 4 of those time zones, please make sure that your emails are going out during business hours. Do not send a 9 a.m. Eastern email to everybody, so that the people that are in the Pacific time zone, who are 3 hours behind, are going to end up getting that at 6 a.m. That's just not going to work. Yes, some people might read that, but they're going to realize it's outside of business hours. It's going to look weird, and they might be used to it because they're on the West Coast, but we need to do something a little bit better than that. Make sure that they have a great experience. So set all of your emails to go out 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, in my opinion, in their respective time zones. So make sure you set up a system that does that for you. If you don't have that capability with your current system, you might want to consider switching to something that does have that capability. But if that's not going to be possible for you, you can look at some other options. I can talk about those on another session here of podcasting. The other thing is the reply tracking. A lot of email gurus out there talk about, we want to track the replies and track this and track that. The thing that I suggest that you track is how many emails were sent, how many are bouncing, because bouncing is going to ultimately tell you how your email server is doing. You want to be less than 2.5% bounce. So if you send 100 emails, you want to have less than 3 bounces. And then I also want you to track open rate, because open rate kind of tells you how many impressions or how many people are you putting this in front of. And then in addition to that, you want to track the click rate. So put one link in there, click this to learn more, click this to schedule on my calendar, click this to visit our landing page, click this to visit our website. Whatever it is, make sure that you have that actual piece in place, as something that they can click on so you can track that. So open rates, bounce rates, click rate, and then ultimately you're tracking how many emails you actually sent. Don't worry so much about replies. Replies are not super predictive about a lot of different factors that are in the email sequence. It is good to track if you can in certain cases, but I would not get bent out of shape about that. Let's talk tools next. three big tools that I've used in the past and ones that are still working pretty decently, I guess. ActiveCampaign, that's going to be your higher premium, tons of features, but also very expensive. You can get into that for about $49 a month for 500 contacts. That'll also allow you to do some text message marketing if you want to build out a sequence that involves texting. But $49 a month for 500 contacts, that's pretty good. It gets pretty steep when you get around 10,000 though. You're going to be pushing that upwards of $300, $400, $500 for that. If you go to Reply.io, that is going to be somewhere in the $50 range. It's 1,000 new contacts per month. So in month 1, it's 1,000. In month 12, you'll have 12,000 people total. So that's summatively 1,000 more people every single month. If you go to something like Zoho Campaigns base out of the box, that gets you 5,000 contacts in the system. If you want to upgrade that, you can pay fees to go from 5,000 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 50, 50 to 100, whatever you want. They have a package for everybody there, but there are some rules around each sequence. ActiveCampaign specifically says you need double opt-in, and they claim to be a non-cold email service, so you have to be careful there. Reply.io is the most flexible, and Zoho has got some rules around content market affiliate marketing and a few other rules where they say, yeah, if you're caught doing any of these things, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. So just a heads up with those. Check out those three tools. I might do a sequence later or maybe a session later on ActiveCampaign, Zoho, and Reply. We'll see, though, because this is a podcast, not so much a video casting session here, and I don't want to make it difficult for people to understand what we're talking about if we don't have the video up. So we'll talk about that, but for now, ActiveCampaign, Reply.io, Zoho Campaigns, go check them all out. If you're going to take the plunge on Zoho, go for Zoho One. Zoho One is a subscription. It's $35 a month per person in the organization that you have. If you just want one person, you can do it. Just don't tell them you have 50 people working with you. And at the end of the day, Zoho One will allow you to have the campaigns function, which is the email function, and everything else. Document signing, forms, CRM. It'll allow you to have a recruiting platform. It'll allow you to have a bookkeeping platform, a payment processing platform. It has a little bit of everything. So if you're looking for that all-in-one for the least amount of money per month, look at Zoho One. If you're not interested in having that, you can just have Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns. The CRM will store all the contacts. Campaigns will send out the email. If you go to a Reply, there really is no CRM function. Reply.io is just straight email. So you upload your list, send out the email sequences, and see what happens. The cool thing about Reply is it has a little bit of an AI technology built into it, which it attempts to figure out, is the person replying to you and saying they're interested or are they not? So that's kind of a cool feature that they have. And then lastly, ActiveCampaign has a CRM function, but also has what they call automations. It's more than a workflow. The automations include text messages, emails, if then else logic, time logic, so setting at 9 a.m. or a weekday or a weekend or whatever it is. It has some additional logic that you're not going to get out of other systems, so that's a really good place to start to look if you want something more advanced. The next thing will be combining emails. So let's talk about how you put emails together. I always recommend a minimum of 1 email and ideally a maximum of 5 emails. I set almost all my email sequences between 3 and 5 emails, and I make sure they all happen within a 10-day period. So what that mostly looks like is email on day 1. So email 1 on day 1, email 2 on day 3, and email 3 on day 5. That is my most common sequence that I'm running there. And again, that falls between that 3 and 5 emails per person. That's what I find the most successes with. After that, if people are not interested, you can drop them off your list or put them on another list, maybe more of a nurturing sequence or something that's slower. But don't smash them with a drip campaign, 1 email a week. You just get burned out and that list is going to go nowhere. So that is the sequence that I recommend is, again, day 1, day 3, day 5, 3 emails in a row. Make sure that your subject lines are good, tie the emails together, have the same tonality, same email signature each time, sign it off really well, and if you're unsure of the verbiage, send it to a small portion of the list and see how they respond. If it's really good, great. If it's not good, don't use that email. Go to a different system. Go to a different verbiage, a different content, different subject line, whatever it is. The content. in order to talk about the content, let's wrap back around to our concept of what the email should look like. There should be an intro, there should be a value, there should be a call to action, and then there should be an unsubscribe. Let's just assume that the unsubscribe is just a given because for compliance reasons you have to do that. So you're really down to 3 things: intro, value, call to action. In the email, you need to tell them what is it that you're doing. Explain who you are, why you're talking to them. Give them an intro, right? Hey, thanks so much for connecting on LinkedIn the other day. I am interested in doing X. That is your intro. Then create value. We have been helping customers do Y for Z number of years. We think you would be a great fit for our program. So now you're creating value. The last option is call to action. When can we chat on the phone? How can we chat on the phone? How can we email? When's the best time to chat with you? What's your availability like? Ask those questions. Give them an intro. Create some value. Give them a call to action. And at the end of the day, give them the unsubscribe option just in case they suck and want to get off your list. After all of that is done, make sure that whoever is following up with your email sequences and talking to your customers on the phone understands how to sell. If you suck at sales, email will not help you sell any better. That is something I promise you. It never has made an email work better. It never will make you better. Selling something is the same on the phone as it is on person. So at the end of the day, if you suck at selling, don't think that emails are going to be able to help you do a better job overall. Email is just a vehicle to get you the phone call. The phone calls to get you the in-person appointment or hard close right there. If you do the in-person appointment, that's where you're going to go for the hard close at that point. So don't feel like you're going to be a much better salesperson because you soft sold somebody with an email up front. That is not going to happen at all. So just bite the bullet, do a bunch of cold calls, respond to a bunch of emails, get people on the phone, pitch what you have, listen to their objections, handle their objections, and then close them as hard as you can. Double, triple, quadruple close them, whatever it takes. Get their card on the phone. Make sure that you do the best job you can for them. Create value. Give them something upfront that counts. And then make sure you deliver it on the back end. Thank you so much for listening to the Prospecting Show on this late recording here at 11:56. See you next week.